Jesus says, forgive 70 times 7. So basically, have inexhaustible forgiveness. And here's where we find out whether we really have Jesus as our Lord and not just merely some ticket to heaven. It's this, is Jesus actually expects us under His rule and reign to forgive. The proof of Jesus' lordship or His kingship over your life and my life, that Jesus is my king, I follow Jesus, the proof is when you do what He says, when you listen and obey. When Jesus is king, Jesus controls and dictates our desires and dreams. When Jesus is king, He cramps, mortifies and kills greed, jealousy, envy, lust. When Jesus is king, He will condemn and convict us of self-righteousness and self-confidence. Jesus must reign, and He will reign. He must reign over you despite all of your sins. Must be brought to the feet of Jesus. Willingly surrender your entire life, not just your words, not just your thoughts and good vibes. We're saying everything about you to be ruled over and overruled by King Jesus. Submit to His government. So Jesus is exalted by His death, and then He's also exalted by the description. And then we see a third thing. Look at verses 23 and 24. They also took the tunic, which was seamless, woven in one piece from the top. So they said to one another, let's not tear it, but cast lots to see who gets it. This happened that the script of my clothes among themselves, and they cast lots for my clothing. This is what the soldiers did. The third thing, Jesus was exalted by His death. He was exalted by this died naked. It's another horrible part of humiliation. The soldiers, according to the custom at that time, stripped and divided the clothes, and it was considered not only cruelty, but their form of executed possessions, property. And it's also customary, and I want to point this out just to show you how far Jesus was willing to go. They generally stripped execution after the flogging. He made the procession to Golgotha, Skull Hill, Calvary. Naked of that in a moment. His clothes were probably handmade. They were not cheap. This is just not a common commodity. And so what they decided to do was to take 4 parts of it and divide it among the 4 soldiers. And there was a valuable tunic. The tunic was the inside. It would be essentially worthless, useless. So they cast lots for it. This is important. These are Romans. What does this have to do with you and I? Here's what I need you to see. 1,000 years before Jesus, before the foundation of the world, God knows that we're all sinners. And this is logically why. Remember back in the garden in Genesis chapter 3, Adam and Eve enjoyed one another and were not ashamed of their nakedness. And here's what's interesting. God told Adam, right, you'll surely die. And it's interesting, drop dead immediately. But one of the very first effects